soldiers, sailors, Marines, airmen.
You are our greatest weapon of all.
First step in solving any problem is recognizing there is one.
It's time we started talking. Pain isn't something we thought.
All we can ever do for our heroes is remember them. And they gave up two lives, the one they were living and the one they would have lived. They gave up everything for our country, for us. They prayed for freedom and justice.
Some veterans not getting the timely care that they need. Less than 1% of Americans serving in uniform. Good news is that in recent years we've made historic investments to boost the VA budget.
What is it? Why should we care?
We should care about press freedom
Because we were informed.
In democratic societies, free, diverse, and pluralist media enable public debates and are essential checks
You don't
on
look
power.
satisfied. Let's discuss.
Hi guys, welcome to Vet podcast, new episode, STDs, Chlamydia, Gonorrhea, and so on. So if it's your first time listening, then thanks for coming. STDs can be an embarrassing topic, especially if you contracted a sexually transmitted disease while you were in the service. But if that's when you got it, you may be eligible for VA disability compensation. In 2018, 4.7 million veterans, or about 25% of all veterans population, received compensation due to service-connected disability. And the majority of these vets are from the post-9/11 generation. And there are 833 conditions related to service that allow vets to claim disability. While it's controversial, STDs or sexually transmitted diseases are among those on the list. So how it works? What are the most common forms of disability to you due to service, as a short reminder?
So it should be noted that STDs connected to service are not anywhere near the top 10 reasons why vets seek disability. In fact, it's one of the most common VA disability claims due to service is hearing loss or constant ringings in the ear. Other common disabilities due to service include scarring, migraines, neck injuries, and limitation in ability to your joints. Additionally, PTSD or post-traumatic stress disorder is incredibly common. The VA disability claims list is always growing, but currently these are the most common. Because these types of injuries are the most common, those who have STDs connected to their service may think they're not entitled to any kind of help. But it does matter if a person does get an STD and the types of STDs. So before 1972, a veteran could not claim benefits for contracting an STD while serving. Prior to that year, it was stated that a veteran who contracted an STD while in service had committed an act of willful misconduct. Changing the rule marked changes in the way the United States perceives sex, and some argue it was an outcome of the era of hippies of free love. And that is my dog. After 1972, veterans have been able to claim benefits due to STDs they've contracted during their time in service. They may even be able to claim a disability for an STD contracted prior to 1972. It was only after the law was changed in that year that you were able to actually go for it.
Does getting an STD make any difference when it comes to VA claims?
No, in a sense, which is part of the reason STD disability benefits is somewhat controversial. If you contracted an STD due to your own negligence, such as sleeping with someone without using protection during your time in service, you still might receive compensation. In fact, there are veterans who receive claims who acknowledge that their STD is rooted in their own negligence or poor judgment. Still, the VA doesn't investigate as long as you could prove that the STD was contracted while you're enlisted.
So why is VA so lax about how the STDs were contracted?
So there are a few reasons, and when looking into it at a little more depth, it does make sense why the VA would allow vets to receive compensation for service-related STDs.
So contracting an STD without sexual activity?
Yeah, so a good chunk of those who get benefits contracting STDs on their own, there are other reasons why many people have developed STDs, many reasons beyond their control. There are many ways that people can contract STDs, and some of them are beyond the scope of consensual sexual activity. For example, in some cases, unfortunately, rape can occur within the military. While it may happen between two members of the same company, it can also happen as an act of violence if someone is taken as a prisoner of war. During these situations, it is clear that it is not the veteran's fault or willful misconduct. Additionally, there may have been incidents of sexual coercion or making a person feel as though they had to participate in sexual activity to keep the role to appease someone. While this may fall into a gray area between consensual and non-consensual, it still leaves the room for an individual to catch an STD. Finally, there are ways you can spread STDs without having any sort of sexual congress. Kissing can spread STDs, especially herpes. While this may still count as sexual, keep in mind that even kissing someone on the cheek may spread the virus. You may also spread STDs through contaminated bedding or towels, as well as sharing certain utensils. In these situations, especially on the front line where supplies are short, you may find yourself sharing them with a friend. Your friend may, without your knowledge, be carrying an STD. As such, using the towel or sleeping on the same bed sheets may pass them between you. A common one would be sharing razors, which can be common among men, especially if someone simply forgot theirs, can cause the spread of an STD. This is due to the fact that it can pierce the skin, give an infection, and a great place to nestle itself and spread. Another way that STDs may pass between one another is by doing intravenous drugs. Drug use is more common than people like to admit among troops, especially those who are in the line of duty. And sometimes vets are in places where they may not have access to clean needles. As such, it is very easy to spread a disease like HIV and hepatitis C between people while doing intravenous drugs. Because the VA does not ask how you contracted an STD, you may be entitled to benefits if you contracted one during your service. So let's look at these diagnoses that you may claim as for disability benefits if they affect your life and long enough to do so.
So, which are on the list?
VA payment rates and claims are predicated on how much the STD still affects your life today. If the STD was something you had in '95 and you took antibiotics and it cleared up immediately, the VA is not going to grant you any benefits. The VA grants compensation based on how much it affects your life daily or chronic type issues. The VA disability rating for chlamydia is very low or almost non-existent, for instance, because most people who have it do not have symptoms that last too long. So to explore which STDs the VA will give you benefits for, assuming it affects your life today, for example, if you're here to answer the question, what is the disability rating for HPV? It is usually 0 due to the fact that it does not usually have symptoms. You may, however, receive some benefits if cancer is found to be caused by untreated HPV infection.
Yeah, so how the VA combined rating table works for disability claims, like starting with gonorrhea and chlamydia?
For chlamydia and gonorrhea, they are bacteria that can affect both men and women. They can affect the urethra, the throat, the rectum, and the cervix. A mother who has gonorrhea can pass it along to their child. While it is most often symptomless, gonorrhea can go on to leave you infertile. It can spread to other areas of the body and cause specific forms of arthritis. Untreated chlamydia can cause PID or pelvic inflammatory disease. As it spreads, it can cause other debilitating conditions and problems. VA disability for gonorrhea is often granted to those who have let their gonorrhea go untreated, either due to ignorance that they had the disease or procrastination. The disease can be cleared up easily via a round of antibiotics, but if the individual is not proactive, it can lead to arthritis issues within the urinary tract that can render someone a percentage disabled according to the VA.
Genital warts.
So, although not a common reason to seek VA benefits, it has been granted in the past. In fact, one Texan veteran received $350 a month for genital warts contracted in the mid-'80s, as he cited that it was a major cause of his depression. Genital warts are amongst one of the few STDs that can be passed on through sheets and clothing, but this can only happen if it is shared during an outbreak of warts.
Syphilis?
If untreated, syphilis can become very serious. Syphilis can be transmitted through vaginal sex as well as anal sex. Individuals can contract it through oral sex. The first stage of syphilis, known as primary syphilis, is when an individual has sores on the site of the infection. Secondary syphilis is when the infection has not been treated and spreads to other parts of the body. Symptoms can include swollen lymph nodes, a rash, and sometimes a fever. If the infection is not treated at this stage, it could turn out to tertiary syphilis, which is very serious. It can spread to your organs, including the heart and the brain. You can also develop arthritis associated with syphilis as well as dementia. Both of these are separately categorized on the VA claims form.
HIV AIDS?
HIV, which can later develop to AIDS, is a disease that can be very serious. Luckily, today, doctors have developed medication that can reduce symptoms and damage of HIV AIDS. These medications have made it largely manageable condition for most people. Manageable, however, should not be mistaken for curable, and once someone becomes infected with HIV, it will be with them for the rest of their lives. It was first identified in 1981, and the panic over the STD has ensued. HIV stands for Human Immunodeficiency Virus, in which the body attacks the cells that are supposed to fight off infection. If left untreated, it will progress to AIDS or acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. With the progression to AIDS, the body cannot fight off the infection and it will lead to death. Tragically, a person with AIDS can die of almost any type of infection. The common cold could be fatal. HIV AIDS is an STD, but it can also be transmitted through non-sexual contact. While you cannot transmit HIV AIDS through kissing or hugging, it can be transmitted through exchange of blood, even if it's accidental. The disease is commonly spread through sharing needles, and mother can also transmit HIV AIDS to her child when it's in utero. Again, the VA doesn't investigate the exact event in which you contracted the STD. The key is did you get the infection while enlisted or not? If you did, then you need to prove service connection within the time and the symptoms. You won't need to share the details of the whole interaction or sexual event.
So what are the other STDs the VA will consider as a disability?
The aforementioned STDs are the most common for VA disability. There are also those that the VA most often recognize as STDs that have an effect on someone's life. While there are many STDs recognized by the VA, they are usually categorized within these four. For instance, gonorrhea may count as one STD, while arthritis from gonorrhea will count as another. Similarly, syphilis, dementia caused by syphilis, and then arthritis caused by syphilis will count as separate STDs. Additionally, when deciding whether you wish to submit a claim to the VA, you'll need to think about how these diseases impact your life. If they have very little impact on your life, it isn't worth the trouble of applying for compensation. In many cases, if you cannot prove it has affected your life, you will not receive anything anyways. So you want to show how it's chronic and how it's still affecting you today, and you might have a shot at it, but if it's part of your story, go for it.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any suggestion for a book or movie?
Yeah, so you guys should definitely read the $12 Million Stuffed Shark, The Curious Economics of Contemporary Art by Don Thompson. It is very interesting when it comes to that whole world and why are things valued the way they are. So not just about art, but gives you an understanding of business too. Really good.
And words of wisdom of the day.
Adventure is in our nature.
Lifted from Iowa Travel Guide, page 84.
Another incredible book you should read.
Thank you. That's it, folks. Thank you for listening. Until next time, over and out.
Thank you.